7282.
It is the Savage Nation. Let me ask you something. If you're the head of the Department of Homeland Security and you let your border be overrun, is that not an act of malice or an act of incompetence or an act of criminality? What is that? That's called a competent job? Who is this guy that they picked to be the Department of Homeland Security? What has he done for America? He's let the border be overrun by 100,000, we don't know how many, women and children. They're not coming here to work. You're telling me all of those illiterate young mothers and their babies are going to work in America? They're coming in to suck the system dry. You people insane? So they were told they're going to get asylum because the White House wanted them to know that. Now, the woman who's behind this, in my opinion, is Cecilia Munoz, who should be investigated by the government. She was the former head of La Raza. She was brought into the White House by Obama 3 years ago. She's been lobbying for this for 3 years, in my perception. And yet Cecilia Munoz is now saying, misperceptions of how we apply our immigration policies were among the factors driving the surge. BS! You're the one who told Obama to do this. Then Munoz says, this is a very dangerous trip that people are taking. Oh, really? We're supposed to have sympathy for them now? How about the sympathy for our veterans who have worse health care than they do? You see, if we had a legitimate government, Cecilia Munoz never would have been permitted to be a policy advisor in the White House directly. Why? Because you don't take someone from a radical Hispanic group, La Raza, and put her into the White House unless you yourself are part of that supremacist mentality. That's number one. Number two, you listen to her now telling you what the problem is when she probably caused the problem by putting out the brochures and messaging that they got down there in Honduras and Guatemala. This is the country I'm living in. The wrong people are arrested. Oh, boy, oh, boy. The White House announced $255 million for the 3 Central American countries. You hear this? They're giving them a reward. $40 million to Guatemala to improve neighborhood security programs. $25 million to El Salvador to open 77 youth centers. Can you believe this? Can you believe a thing that a government like this? And you got poor people here living in tar paper shacks. Americans been here 100 years. Their families 100 years or more. Coming in with toddlers, and you think immigrants come here to work? Miss Munoz should be tried immediately for being the brains behind this, if she is. That's a complex statement. Let me say it again. If Cecilia Munoz is the woman who has orchestrated all of this, which I think she has, listen, these things don't happen by accident. Let me tell you something. They whispered in Obama's ear and they said, look, here's how we end the whole immigration thing. We flood America with 100,000 or more of young mothers and children, and then we say it's too late to stop them, that we have to grant amnesty. We better do immigration reform now. It'll be a fait accompli, Mr. Obama. Okay, cool. That's good. Flood the border. Well, how are you going to get them to come? Oh, we'll put out messages in Guatemala and Honduras. We'll have them flood across the border. And how are they going to get through Mexico since the Mexicans don't let Guatemalans walk through their country? We'll work it out with our friends in Mexico. We'll give them a safe passage right through Mexico, right into Laredo, Texas. Then they could disperse them throughout America. And they could destroy the school systems and the hospitals. Isn't that what you want? Well, yeah, bring it all down, man. Crisis after crisis. That works. That worked for me up until now. Well, good. So we'll bust the schools and the hospitals. We'll have all of those crackers screaming about all these people. We'll make them look like racists. And boom, we win a threefer out of this, Mr. Obama. Good, good. Go for it. Let's see. I'm late for my golf game. Okay, Cecilia, you're on. That's my imaginary scenario. You have to forgive me. I have a vivid imagination. Vivid imagination. There's not a Democrat in the country who wants this happening. They want me to have sympathy for them. You hear this? Don't you love it? Don't you love the polyglot civilization that's emerging? It's no longer a melting pot. That's what Obama wants. He doesn't want a melting pot. He wants everyone fighting with each other so he can continue to get away with murder and fly off on a golf trip. So now he's flooding America with diseased immigrants, gangbangers hiding amongst the boys and girls. And finally, the Republicans say, put the National Guard on the border. I guess Boehner got the message from somebody. How many times have I said put the National Guard on the border? I'm not saying he listens to the show. He probably finds me insulting. And I do mean to be insulting. Maybe sometimes an insult is required to wake people up from their stupor. But we're in trouble. The Miami public schools are overloaded. New York City public schools are overloaded. The illegals are running in from Guatemala and Honduras, and they're taking the highway right up to Minnesota. That's going to be really great for the Midwest. They're really going to adapt to that area. Sure, the 2-year-old people are going to work in a factory. What are they bringing them in for? How can we afford them? How in the world can any nation survive such deviancy? I blame it all on Cecilia Munoz, who's behind it in my estimation. I'd like her to prove me wrong. I challenge her to prove me. You want to talk about lost emails? Go dig up the emails from Cecilia Munoz inside the White House and see who she sent them to and what she said over the last 2 years about how to break the immigration system wide open, how to stop those people from even talking about border security. I can guarantee you'll find it coming from his office, the Oval Office, right down the line. Don't fool yourself. Tell them to break the hard drives. There's another hard drive breaker coming. In fact, if I were a rock and roll singer, I'd do a song called The Hard Drive Breaker. That'd be a good song, Hard Drive Breaker. It would start with jackhammers on a hard drive. And then we'd go to a speech by Barack Obama and the IRS Commissioner, Lois Lerner. I have a few choice words for her, but I can't use them in English. I give you words for Lois Lerner in a foreign language. Maybe I'd get away with it, but I doubt it. There are too many people listening who are trilingual on the show. Lois Lerner. Where is she today now that we don't need her? Where's she hiding? Think she's in Boca with the mother? If I were Lois Lerner and I retired and my hard drives would disappeared, where would I hide in America? Let's see. I get a wig. I get a wig. I'd move to either Boca Raton or Fort Lauderdale. I'd hunch. Like I have scoliosis, I'd bend over. I would shop till I drop. I'd take the bus. I'd live in Century Village. And if a reporter, let's say, caught up with me and said, Mrs. Lerner, do you know where the hard drives are? I'd say, what? What do you talk? What do you mean, what hard drive? I just came here from Hungary. What hard drive? It was a hard drive over here from the condo. Very hard. No, Mrs. Lerner, where are the hard drives that are missing? Oh, I told you it's a hard drive on it. What do you want from me? Stop sticking in my face a thing. Take away the camera. Would you please, I call the police?
This is an encore presentation of the Savage Nation.
So let me tell you a personal story, and I'll show you where I'm coming from. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to prove to you definitively today on the Savage Nation, that not only is Obama a traitor and a liar, but he's a traitor and a liar to his own people. Yes, you heard me. Because the people who are going to be harmed the most from this flood, this tsunami of illegal immigrants, are not the white people in this country, but the black people in this country. There's tremendous poverty amongst black people in the United States of America. Now, where is the money going to come from to educate these non-English speaking children, so-called, from Honduras and Guatemala? Where's the money going to come from for their health care when they can't even take care of the veterans? Yesterday, I was on the way back from my location in Florida, where I broadcast for a day or so, and I came back to San Francisco, and we had to make a stop in Memphis. I had not planned on going to Memphis, Tennessee. I've never been to Memphis, Tennessee. But for reasons I'd rather not discuss, we had to make a landing in Memphis. And I had about 4 or 5 hours to spend in a city I had never been to. I thought fate had put me down in Memphis because there's no other reason for this. And as the plane was descending over Memphis, I saw some of the most beautiful country in the entire world. And I've seen a lot of the world. I thought it was some of the most verdant, beautiful land I'd ever witnessed in my life. And I said, wow, Tennessee is really beautiful. I know I'm on the radio in Tennessee and in that town, in a Cumulus station, right in the city of Memphis. And as I'm on in so many other cities. And when we landed, I knew we had 4 or 5 hours till we were going to take off. So we rented a car, and a guy said, I said, could you take us around? He said, well, where do you want to go? I said, well, okay, I know that there's Elvis's thing here, Graceland. I mean, I was never a big fan of Elvis. I think he was a talented singer or whatever, but it's not my cup of tea to go there and see the hot dog people, you know. But nevertheless, I went to there. Then I said to him, listen to this. I mean, I didn't know much about Memphis. I said, look, I've been in the South a few times in my life, and I love the music. It's the middle of the afternoon, though. I didn't expect to hear blues music. He said, well, I got to take you to the riverfront, then I got to take you to Beale Street. I said, oh, Beale Street, isn't that like New Orleans? He says, yes, like New Orleans. So we hung out there, and I had some ribs. I took me to the best rib shop in town. He was from the area, black guy.